Have you ever been in a situation in your life where somebody in your life, you're like, I just can never forgive them? Have you ever felt like that? I know I have for sure. But forgiveness, this is something that we talk about a lot. Today, we're going to be interviewing one of our authors in an upcoming book, Anatomy of Abundance. We're going to be talking about forgiveness. So stick around. You're going to really want to hear this. Forgiveness. It's something we hear a lot about, but how are we to implement forgiveness into our life, especially if we're feeling like we really, really don't want to? So I'm going to bring to the stage one of our authors in the book, Anatomy of Abundance, Priscilla let me pronounce your name right. Melekhshalom Kashani. Welcome to the stage. So excited to have you, especially on this topic of forgiveness. So why don't you share just a little bit about yourself and let's talk about forgiveness.
I'm so excited to be here. I started my practice, Shalom Energy Healing, back in 2018. And I got into the practice of healing because I needed to heal my own mindset, my own emotional baggages, and give back to the world what I have learned. And in my practice, I combine theta healing, Kabbalah, spirituality, meditation, energy healing, Kabbalistic astrology and numerology, and many other methodologies, so I can offer a unique package for each client. But throughout the years, I've noticed one of the main tools that uh, helps my clients is to help them to forgive the other person that hurt them. And that brings the most amount of inner peace and feeling of completeness and a sense of power. And that helps them shift their energy. And by that, they bring the energy of abundance, blessings to their lives.
It's hard sometimes to forgive. I know that I had many, many years, especially with my father. My father was very abusive, and I carried around this resentment, this anger, this pain, and you name it. I was carrying it around for so many years. And it was only about maybe 2 or 3 years ago during the pandemic that I was like, you know what? I'm finally ready to forgive him. Now, he had already passed on 10 years before, almost 15 years before. And I was finally ready to forgive him. So why don't you talk about forgiveness? Like how important is it for us to forgive in order, because you mentioned, talked about abundance and things like that, but how important is it for us to really forgive? And how do we know that we have forgiven?
Yeah. First of all, I got hurt also by someone very close to me. I had to teach myself how to let go and to let go of all this emotional hurt that I was carrying with myself. And going through that journey of pain and suffering, I created this forgiveness workshop that helps a lot of people. Forgiveness is very important because it takes us from a place of anger, hate, resentment to a place of peace. I'm empowered. And there's some steps, and each step is super powerful and necessary in the process of forgiveness. A lot of times, when we can't forgive someone, it's because we expect a different outcome, a different result, a different behavior from the other person, and we haven't accepted them for the place they're at. We are not all in the same spiritual growth journey. At this time, we have to accept this is where they are. And who knows, maybe 10 years or sometime during future, they might catch up. But for now, we have to go to a place of acceptance. Not, yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting because I know I've heard a phrase, something along the lines of, just because you forgive doesn't mean that what they did was okay.
for sure.
So let's talk about that a little bit because when we forgive, like when I forgave my dad, it was more for me than it, since he, especially since he had already passed on. But the forgiveness was more for me because I had such a hardened heart. I was in so much anger. Anytime anything would come up related to my dad, I just felt this horrible feeling throughout my entire body, my brain, all the way to my toes. And so when I forgave him, it wasn't about him because again, he was already passed on, but it was about me being able to have just more forgiveness for myself, I think. Let's talk about that.
For sure. Forgiveness isn't just not merely the pardon of wrongdoings, is also about realizing that you are powerful enough to create boundaries. You are powerful enough not to be in the victim consciousness anymore, and to see the divine lessons that are in that process of pain and suffering that you went through. But also, one of the first steps is we have to honor the emotions, the pain that we went through in order to heal our inner child. We have to take the time to sit down with our feelings. Otherwise, we will carry it on the surface throughout our entire lives. But by taking time to honor the emotions and the things that we felt, then we can go on and relate, okay, this is where the person is. He's not capable of giving me more or treating me better. This is the time for me to create my boundaries. But I do not need this anger and resentment to help me to create the boundary. I also can create this boundary from a place of inner peace and completeness and wholeness.
I find interesting about that is, wait, hold on one second here. Yeah, what I find interesting about that is, well, first of all, I wrote down forgiving others creates power within ourselves. It like helps us to, because we're gaining power back by forgiving others, because it is, is about us there. And you mentioned your forgiveness workshops. I would love for you to talk about that. What does that look like? What will I, by attending one of your forgiveness workshops, what am I going to get from that?
Um, I go through the process of forgiveness step by step, helping the person to realize where their negative belief systems, where the negative emotions are stuck, and why are they holding on to it. Because sometimes those negative beliefs stem from fear of being lonely. That's why I cannot forgive the other person. Um, so the workshop is about the step by step how to go and let go of these emotions and negatives. And also I do meditations, breath work. I I look at forgiveness from every different aspect to change the mindset of the person so they can let go and forgive.
Oh, that's fantastic. So necessary. I want to just share that we are talking to one of the authors of this book, Anatomy of Abundance. If you want to get a copy of the book, just go to go.patrinawisdom.com/abundance. Again, that's go.patrinawisdom.com/abundance. Amazing book. There are free gifts from our authors as well. So go cash in on those. It's an incredible book, an incredible message from our authors. Also, you can connect with Priscilla at shalomenergyhealing.com, and that's shalomenergyhealing.com. Go connect with her over there. And Priscilla, regarding the topic of forgiveness, you said, like, why are we holding on to it? And what I found interesting about what you said there is that I'm looking for the mute button. There we go. What I found interesting you talking about that is that I remember one day I was like, I'm just not ready to forgive. Like we have to be ready, right? Don't we have to be ready to forgive before we can really forgive?
You have to be ready, but you can start by increasing your desire by asking the Creator to help you. Because holding on to these negative emotions are only holding us back. And in order to shift down our energy and open the door to blessings, it's very important that we can let go of this anger, resentment, hatred. So another step is to keep asking God, help me. Let me have the desire and capacity to forgive this person because I want to really let go. And that desire will help you to get ready. The
Yes.
intensity of your desire.
As you're saying that, I'm chuckling only because I just kept saying, like, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to ask for help. I wasn't ready. And it's like, why? Because what was it serving me? It wasn't to hold on to that anger and just not wanting to forgive. Like, so do you have any thoughts on that? Like why was I resisting so much? Like, I literally was like, I am not ready. I don't want
One
to forgive.
reasons people hold on to anger and resentment. That's how indirectly they stay connected with the person, whether they're alive or passed on. So indirectly, there is still a connection, even though it's negative. You're holding on to that connection to your dad or to the person that hurts you. It's a negative belief system, but we can change it. Another negative belief system that causes us to hold on to these negative emotions and not to forgive is we think by holding on to this anger, we are in control, and this is how we are going to protect ourselves from future hurt and suffering from other people, which is also incorrect. But once you can see that after all this pain and suffering, the lessons you put your emphasis on the lessons that you learned, because there's always divine lessons in pain or challenges or difficulties that we go through. So when we put our emphasis there, then we can let go. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking of I have all these thoughts about this because I loved how you said even if it's negative, it's a connection. And so it's as if I was wanting to
yeah.
holding on to that past, to have that connection to that past. It's almost like it's almost as if I didn't want to let the past go
Yes,
to
that's
create a future, right? To create a better future.
That's because a lot of times we can't forgive because we cannot foresee a better future without that person. So, another step in our workshop is to be able to visualize a future if that person cannot give us our boundaries to be able to visualize a better future. So,
Okay. So what was interesting that you said there, I didn't write it down verbatim, but like we're holding on to that negative past because we can't imagine a future with that person not in it. Did I hear that correctly?
correct. Or we cannot see a bright future for ourselves.
Or with that person in it? Maybe we can't see a bright future with that person in it or
Yes.
with them. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So
Okay. Well, you've given me a lot to think about because this is something I still have one or two people in my life that I'm just like, I'm not ready, and so you've given me a ton to think about. And I'm hoping that anybody listening right now, that you're going through the same thing as I'm going through. Maybe you have some people in your past that you haven't wanted to forgive for whatever reason that is. And so I would love for you, Priscilla, to talk to us. Like, what's the first step that we should take? I know, like, I do believe in God, and so I will start, doing that as my part of my prayer, is to ask for that help and that guidance. But what is something that we should do, like that first step?
Yeah. The first step is asking God, divine energy, the creator, to help us get to the point so we can forgive. Then it's realizing that I have to honor this pain and suffering that I went through. That means sitting down and feeling these emotions. You can go to nature, you can play nice music and allow the emotions to be released. Because if it's stuck, then it's a blockage for you to forgive and let go.
Okay, this is well, I'm excited to embark on this journey of, my next level of forgiveness. Forgiving my dad was a big one. That was a really big one. It took me 58 years to be ready to forgive, and I finally have. And it's been incredible, being able to forgive him. But there are other people in my life that I really need to look at those as well. So I appreciate you bringing this topic to the table. So if you want to connect with Priscilla, you can go to shalomenergyhealing.com. What are they going to find when they head on over to your website, Priscilla?
There is a free meditation they can subscribe to, and it will be sent to them. It will have the information about my workshops, forgiveness workshops. It will have information about exactly what I do.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for being part of this book, and talking about forgiveness. What is one thing that you would like the readers to take away from reading the book, The Anatomy of Abundance book?
That about the book or the workshops?
The book.
This book offers different perspective of each one of us authors about how to enter a state of blessings, how to bring that energy towards us. So it's very exciting to read each chapter and see a different perspective, how to receive the abundance.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Again, get your copy at go.patrinawisdom.com/abundance. Patricia, thanks for Priscilla. Thank you for being part of this book, and being on this journey with us. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that I've personally found from my experience of working with Action Taken Publishing is that I've walked away with more friends than I had before, because of the relationship that you build with the authors while working in an anthology. I think it's an amazing project to be able to get published. It's a fantastic way to get published the first time, and I've almost seen people who get hooked on doing anthologies, because once that bug is bitten, you feel like you can release more and more and more and more stories. And Linda's got a bunch of titles that I think resonates with a lot of us who live in the real world.